Today can be the turning point in your life by making a simple decision.
Fundamental questions of navigation. Where am I? Where am I going? And how do I get there from here?
I invite the leaders of our planet to ask themselves these three questions before they make any crucial decisions.
But if you don't make decisions, you're going to stay right where you are.
We are all map makers.
We are in a time of transition.
If we're going to change, we have to change the direction that we're going.
Our planet needs leaders who know where they want to go.
When we change the direction we're going, then we want to make sure we're going in the right direction.
Leaders who can see the big picture.
Because if we're not, we're going to either go backwards or we're going to stay where we are.
Recognizing the psychological and the spiritual shifts and changes that need to be made, often from the inside to the outside.
To be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm.
Complex journeys require navigation. The path to the truth is one such journey. This is your GPS. Hairstyling services provided by J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa, Palmdale Shopping Plaza, Madera Street. Accessories provided by Chevette Williamson Jewelry. Standout jewelry for standout women. Good. Okay, I'm not sure why we're getting that feedback. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to GPS Global Paradigm Shift. I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm. Always a pleasure to be in your company. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have you guys ever watched those commercials for whatever particular condition? And, you know, they paint this glorious picture. Oh, take this and you won't have this condition anymore. And, you know, the commercials always, you know, with people smiling and feeling better and all this kind of stuff. And then they say side effects may include, and then they list off this long list of side effects. And when you listen to the list of side effects, you're thinking to yourself, oh, gosh, the side effects sound worse than what I try to get cured. One example, depression, antidepressant medication. Side effects. Marisha. My in-studio guest is a gentleman who is working very, very closely on the ground as it relates to the fallout of COVID-19, because his work with the Bahamas Feeding Network, they see what is happening on the ground here in the Bahamas, and they can tell you better than anyone else that there is some real suffering going on out there. And so I want to quickly introduce my first guest, Mr. Phil Smith, director of the Bahamas Feeding Network. You're going to have to make sure that microphone is pulled right to you. He whispers to me, say your boyfriend. Then you trap, see. Okay, let's go ahead and say good morning to to our audience this morning.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Michelle. It's always a pleasure being in your company, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. And joining us also on the show this morning, but by StreamYard, is a gentleman who calls himself the critical thinker. There he is, critical thinker, C. Alan Johnson. C. Alan, welcome back to GPS. C. Alan, can you hear us? You need to put in your earphones, C. Alan. Okay? But he's
Can
there.
you hear me?
Okay. I could hear you again a second ago. Say something else. Say something, C. Alan.
I will exit and re-enter.
Okay. I don't know if he's having issues hearing us, but we can hear him. Okay, we'll come back to C. Alan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this show by playing.
Say something, C. Alan.
I'm trying to exit and re-enter. Trying to. Okay.
I'm going to
You
start
may
this
be able to
show
hear me, but I'm
by
trying to see if I
playing.
can hear you.
Let's kill C. Alan's audio. I'm going to start the show by playing a clip that goes into the fallout of COVID-19.
I don't know if you can hear me.
There are 3 clips that we're going to be playing throughout the show. But this first one is sort of giving us a general overview of what is happening, because it's not just the Bahamas where we've been given a bitter pill to swallow as it relates to our response to COVID-19, but it's really global. COVID-19 has brought the global economy to its knees, and the pandemic has been an enormous synchronized global economic shock on a scale that many are saying has not been seen since the Second World War. It was expected that by the end of last year, the world's GDP would have been in the vicinity of 7.5% lower than what it would have been without the pandemic. Millions of people around the world have lost their jobs. Widespread lockdowns have turbocharged changes that were already affecting the world economy in technology, finance, and trade. And so we have to ask the question, how governments have adopted to these changes will affect us. Will the way that our governments have adopted to changes determine how rapidly our country's economy can recover? Let's go to clip number 1.
In April this year, American unemployment was the highest since the Depression. Back then, around a quarter of Americans were jobless. But from the bleak depression of the 1930s was born the New Deal, an ambitious federal plan to create jobs and kickstart the economy.
40% of those seeking work have found it. We have a long way to go, but we are on the way.
The crises of the 20th century forced governments to change their policies for the better.
It's often been the case that after big periods of economic upheaval, you've had a reforging of the relationship between the individual and the state.
The Second World War was followed by an expansion of the welfare state in Europe. And high unemployment and inflation of the 1970s led to Ronald Reagan's and Margaret Thatcher's free market economics. But in the 21st century, the largest economic shocks have not led to such a change.
The global financial crisis, people thought maybe you'd have a rethinking of how banking worked, but in the end, you only got incremental reform. The effects of trade with China were not adequately anticipated by Western policymakers. They did not think about the impact it would have on some workers who were exposed to it, and I don't think enough thinking had been done about the implications of big tech for the economy and society.
Those on the losing side of these economic shifts have felt left behind.
The result is you've got the rise of populist politicians like President Trump, the vote for Brexit, the rise of right-wing or economically nationalist populism around the world. And then among the young, you have this leftward drift, this support for politicians like Bernie Sanders, for Jeremy Corbyn.
The pandemic is the 4th economic shock of the 21st century. This time, governments could choose to respond differently. In the aftermath of the global financial crisis, many governments, especially in Europe, chose to tighten their belts rather than spend. The result was slow economic recovery.
You had governments which turned to fiscal austerity, to cutting spending to balance their budgets too soon, which also weakened the recovery and made it slower than it otherwise could have been. Now we have the pandemic, an economic downturn that's very deep, and I think it's important that governments don't repeat the mistakes of the 2010s.
So far, spending is exactly what governments have been doing. And to pay for that spending, governments have been borrowing a lot. To keep borrowing costs down, central banks in America, Britain, Japan, and the euro area have created new money worth almost $4 trillion. That money has financed household income payments, furloughed millions of workers, and bailed out businesses.
At the moment, interest rates are very low, and so despite the fact that you have this enormous debt that's been run up as a result of the pandemic, the costs of servicing it are not high. So there is no doubt that there's space for governments to support the economy.
But no one knows if or when interest rates are going to rise. And should that happen, it'll be the taxpayer forced to shoulder the burden of this vast public debt.
The balance governments have to strike is not turning to austerity too quickly, but then once, if and when interest rates start to rise, to be aware that they are very indebted and they need to ensure that their fiscal policies are sustainable.
All right. So one of the decisions that governments have made, we just heard in that report, is spend first, save later. And unfortunately, Phil, you definitely have to pull the microphone closer to you. Unfortunately, that seems to have been the approach that the government here in the Bahamas has taken as well. And I don't know about y'all, but from where I sit, it doesn't look like this medicine is any better than the thing it's trying to cure. What are your thoughts as it relates to what you are seeing on the ground, Phil, and how this approach of spend first, save later has affected us?
Well, I think the government has no other choice. You know, it's a pandemic, unexpected. And, you know, take, for example, when it comes to what we are doing, the basic need of food, the government, I believe, appreciated the fact that, you know, if you didn't feed people, if people were going to go hungry, then you were going to have probably a lot of crime and that sort of stuff. So the government made the decision to invest $36 million into the feeding, the National Task Force. So I don't think there is much choice in the matter, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think the governments around the world have to do what they have to do. You know, here in the Bahamas, unfortunately, the government's income and most people's income comes through tourism, which is basically at a standstill. So, yeah, I don't think there was a choice in the matter. And I think even going forward, Michelle, they're going to have to find ways to continue to support people.
All right, I see C. Allen is here. C. Allen, let's get your thoughts on this. So what are your thoughts on whether or not the government had a choice in the approach of spend now, save later, and how it has impacted us thus far? Can you hear us, C. Allen? All right, I see C. Allen is here. C. Allen, let's get your thoughts on this. Okay, we're getting some delayed sound here, and it doesn't appear that he can hear us. C. Allen,
can you hear me? Because I still can't seem to hear you.
Okay, we can hear you.
Let me just try this one more time of exiting again, but just let me speak if you can hear me. Hold up your hand if you can hear me, then I'll go and come back when I speak. Okay. Hear me? Okay. Before I leave, just let me say that I think that yes, this is an event that none of us could have predicted, none of us could have experienced. You know, first, Phil, let me give you kudos going all the way back to September of Dorian. You were the first on the ground here in Grand Bahama with your feeding network, and a lot of people was able to be touched on that. You beat the NGOs, you beat everyone else here on Grand Bahama, and we appreciate the effort that you put in then and continue. But as when we go back now to the epidemic that we have before us for Grand Bahamas, we experienced both of them. But I think the government has made an effort. I think, however, when we look at the time, we look at the beginning of this, we say, yes, they have made a reasonable effort in regards to what has been done. But when we look at where we are now, almost a year later, one have to begin to question, can we be doing better? I understand the circumstances that we may be facing fiscally, but this is where we are now. As a person that understands data organization and technology, I would say that we have yet to embrace any aspect of that. More so with the feeding network, it is not what myself and whoever else submitted to the government envisioned. We envision a technology-based environment where every home would have been cataloged, given a number, the needs of each individuals. All of the NGOs would have been basically digitized, tapped into the cloud, so that we would have no duplication of services. Anybody else wanted to enter into the distribution, they could have checked and verify and authenticate, so that we could have a better impact on our society. But I think, though, the whole concept is that I think we are now beginning to learn that the cure that we are seeing to the approach that we have is going to be worse than the medicine that we were instructed to take.
Wow. Phil, how bad is it out there? I know that, you're saying the government really had no choice in the matter. But even with what steps the government has taken, we're still seeing widespread suffering. People are really, really hurting out there. So what are you actually seeing on the ground?
Yeah, it's bad. So let me just tell you what the history of the National Task Force has been. So the government invested initially $16 million that took us from June through October, and then an additional $10 million that would have taken us to the end of December. And the final phase, January 1 to March 31st, is an additional $10 million. As a result of the amount of money in the program, we have had to scale back our numbers. So we were initially feeding 220,000 individuals, or 55,000 homes. So we estimate an average of 4 persons per home. So we were feeding 55,000 homes, or 220,000 individuals. That number has been scaled back by 2/3. So now we are servicing 1/3 of what we initially started servicing. And that figure is around 72 to 75,000.
What has happened, or what is happening to the 2/3 that aren't being serviced?
We, did an exercise. I was not involved in it, but some very brilliant people did this exercise where they remove persons who were either back on their jobs or, in my opinion, Michelle, I think we took too many persons off. All right. And I believe, because from where I sit, the number of persons that have been coming to us, persons that have not been on the list, persons who were taken off, that have been coming and saying, listen, we're very, very desperate. We need food, but we were taken off. I would estimate, and again, my estimation isn't scientific, but I would.
But you're on the ground.
Yeah.
The thing with scientific is, everything looks good on paper, but you see in the reality, you on the ground.
Right. And so, Michelle, I would think that we would have a minimum of 100,000 individuals that are in need of food. That's
how many?
100,000.
Wow.
So that's a quarter of the population.
Ooh.
And I did a calculation recently to figure out how much that would cost us or cost the task force. So each parcel of food that we give is $54. So let's say $60 average. Okay. And then we give a meat parcel with that for another $20. So let's say $80 in total. $80 for a parcel, and that lasts for 2 weeks. Okay, so $60 in food supplies, and that has 16 different items: tuna, mackerel, rice, oats, peanut butter, cornflakes, sugar, evaporated milk, macaroni and cheese, tomato paste, corned beef, cooking oil, mashed potato, Vienna sausage, spaghetti. So we give that parcel for a 2-week period, and so it's actually $40 per week, okay? Half of the $80. So when you calculate, if it's 100,000 persons, and that's 25,000 homes, because we're estimating 4 persons per home, okay? And that works out to $1 million per week. So that is really what we need. You see how I came up with that figure, Michelle? So 25,000 homes times $40 per week gives us $1 million. I know you're not good at math.
No, I'm with you.
Okay.
I'm just processing it. Yes.
Yeah. So that is what we need every week in order to service the number of persons that I believe are truly, truly in need of food. And I think I am even being conservative. Okay. So after March, the government initiative comes to an end. And so what happens going forward? I don't know what's going to happen. We are going to do our best. We are right now putting together a marketing strategy, to go throughout the United States and Canada. But I doubt we are going to be able to afford a
marketing strategy for what? Asking them for what?
To help.
And they all got their own problems.
I think we could get something, though. I see your point, but you don't think we are going to?
Well, I mean, I could be totally off here, but I mean, it's not like this is unique to us. Everybody is going through their challenges now.
Right.
Maybe some other countries planned better and are able to help others because they planned better. And maybe we'll be, fortunate in that. But everybody going through the same. Yeah. They got millions of people out of work in the United States. I heard one of our own politicians saying that they felt our government was doing better because the only assistance that Americans were given was $600 since the pandemic started. I just heard a politician say that. So everybody going through this. So are we going to rely on handouts from others when they all struggling themselves?
Right. And so you see the position that I think we are going to be in Okay,
I'm not sure what happened just now.
Yeah, going forward after March, when the government initiative comes to an end, their funding, we are really going to be in a pretty difficult position in that you're going to need $1 million every week to feed these.
So in other words, if you think things tough now, wait till after March if nothing changes.
Yeah. And man, Michelle, food is a basic need.
Basic human need.
You have to eat.
Basic.
And it's tough. A lot of people, we see these people every day, and it's tough, Michelle.
And desperate people take desperate measures. See, Alan, let's bring you back in here. Hopefully, you can hear us and we can hear you. Can you hear us, Alan?
Yes, I can.
Oh, praise the Lord. Okay. All right. So let's get you in on this conversation, C. Alan. And I'm hoping you would have been able to hear everything that Phil just said. How do you respond to that?
Well, I think Phil's figure is somewhat correct. If you calculate that 1164 needed per day, with 100,000 people, you'd end up at about $1.2 million per day that is needed just to reach what is called the poverty line in the Bahamas. But this is where, we are a 21st century environment. And the mere fact that we are not using technology to enhance and accelerate this whole process going 1 year later, let me go back to my original statement that I didn't know if I was clear enough on that, is that we are small enough demographics now that we can use technology to basically touch every household in the Bahamas. We have less than 115,000 households in the Bahamas, houses at least, or that we estimate. And so it's very easy for us to, using GIS or whatever information more so on the family islands, to basically catalog every single house and know specifically how much people are in there, know which NGOs or churches in the community that is distributing food. This type of technology can hold on a device. It shouldn't take more than 7 days to execute, so that we can know that we're getting equitable distribution across the Bahamas based on the needs, so there won't be any abuse. And so, I mean, when I originally proposed this concept of the feeding program to the government, going back to the beginning of this, the whole concept was that it was going to be technology enhanced to basically leave no one behind and to capitalize on what we had, the resources that we had, the multitude of churches and programs like Phil's own. It was also meant to do exactly what Phil said. It was meant to actually tap into the global network, because when you look at the volume of churches and NGOs, etc., one of the biggest things is that we often look to NGOs to come to us and do things for us. Well, Phil Smith and his feeding network and others have demonstrated that they have the capability, if given the resources, to execute what is necessary. And so when you begin to tap into these global giving foundations, coming into a central depository for which technology enhanced and accountability goes into executing it, it can very well achieve some of the goals that we're trying to achieve, at least minimize the necessary impact on the government's purse. Because essentially, there's not always money that can be contributed to solve some of the problems we have. You know, they can contribute staples, you know, rice and beans and cheese and peanut butter and various flour, you know, various different things. But it has to be coordinated across a complete platform. I don't think it's too late. In fact, I think it is necessary for us now to basically accelerate outreaching to the global network, because one thing that we have, an advantage that we have in the Bahamas, is that we are a brand. We are a brand that is recognized around the world. The number one, always within the top 10 of the group of the recognized search words in the world is the word Bahamas. And so there are people that recognize us from the 7 million people a year that we say come to the Bahamas, and those very small contributions that they could commit to us in spite of their challenges. All of them may not necessarily be challenged, but if you could get a certain volume of people that commit $1 a day, $2 a day, whatever amount it is, you can see how it cascades into a larger amount, executed in a proper manner, given the ability of technology to enhance that we are reaching the people in the Bahamas. Anyone who expects the economy to return before 2022, and I put it around mid-2022, is in a fantasy, in a state of fantasy. COVID is going to be with us for a long time. We're beginning to see the variations that is beginning to happen, and with all due respect, government itself, and government means both opposition and the one in parliament, I mean in cabinet or whatever it is. I mean, both sides have yet to come and collaboratively come back and bring a strategy for the crisis that are facing our country. Phil is talking about food. When you begin to add to that the housing insecurity, the job insecurity, the health insecurity, we are facing a huge blow that is coming to us as a country. And so food is one of the most primary concerns for families that is out there. But I think what we have to do is we have to actually succinctly look at all of the problems that we are facing. First with food, let's look at how we're going to resolve that. Let's bring order to what is happening, because I know here in Grand Bahama, you have various people just we call it pop-up feeding. And being one that document, I go to many of the feedings sometimes just from a distance, just for observation. And I see many of the same people. As a person that also reaches out into the community, I assist people in any means there's a number of people that's being left out. Let me just use one example of a group of family I assist. There's a mother that was born in 1972, has yet to get her citizenship. And she has 2 daughters who have yet to get their citizenship. And they have children who have yet to get their citizenship, so they're not qualifying for social services or anything of that sort. The mother is a TCI. Her husband, or children's father, I should say, is Bahamian, but because of that thing, she's not been able to get, her father, sorry, is Bahamian. So she's, believe it or not, almost 40 years, she has not been able to get citizenship. Her children's father is also Bahamian, but they have not been able to get their citizenship because of her or through their father or for whatever reason is waiting. And so you could imagine that we have hundreds if not thousands of these type of individuals, not counting the immigrants amongst us, because they are within our borders. They are also part of our. They should be also part of our strategy, regardless of their status. And so the mere fact that we have. Sorry,
Let me get Phil in on this. In this conversation, Phil, I'm assuming that the numbers that you quoted earlier were pretty much not including the immigrant community. Is that correct?
That's an excellent point, Excellent point. So we are really looking at a figure higher than I have been quoting. And that's truly something we need to think about. Because I was looking at the population, the number of persons.
Look into your microphone for me as opposed to looking at me. Go ahead as you speak. Just go ahead. You're on camera, by the way, so don't make any funny moves.
Okay. So yeah. Now let me. I'm just wondering. Yeah, that 400,000. So the numbers that we have. So we were servicing 220,000 individuals. 220,000 individuals, which interestingly, I brought up the population size of 400,000, but I do believe, Michelle, that 220,000 was also would have included immigrants, because unlike social services, I don't think we segregated in any way, or we prevented persons who were not citizen or had citizenship to get food. And that's something I really need to look into. And that's a very, very good point you brought up, Michelle. And so
Actually, see, Alan brought it up.
Okay. Yes. Are what's the percentage of these persons? Because basically this is what they must, okay. And you know what? As I think about it, because in order for us to register someone, they must have a national insurance card. So I imagine these numbers are all Bahamians, eh?
I would think.
Yeah, because in order to register a person, they must have an identification, either a national, usually it's a national NIB card, So I need to look a little more into, these numbers, seeing how much of these numbers, because, initially and originally, we said we would not turn persons away, whether they were Bahamians or not.
Okay. Let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to look at other possible strategies of what our government should be doing. So stay with us. This is GPS. We'll be back in a moment.
Helps you step out in style, offering a high fashion, elegant line of ladies' clothing from petite to plus sizes, from chic casual to dazzling evening wear. Come and visit us in our newly renovated boutique in the Helron Plaza, Robinson Road. We're also the leading distributors for wholesale and retail on Hetty's pantyhose, as well as wholesale beauty supplies, also offering services to the Family Islands. Call us today at 394-6116 or come and visit us in the Helwan Plaza, Robinson Road, the Catwalk Boutique, where
For all your building needs, it's Carib Construction and Project Management on Gladstone Road. We build it all: schools, homes, hotels, and more, including structures requiring a Phase 3 electrical contractor. We also provide project management services. The first step towards your dream building begins at Carib Construction and Project Management. Call us at 376-1556 or 341-4466. At Lee Air, safety is our #1 priority. Flying since 1996, we offer scheduled flights into Fresh Creek and Mangrove Key Andros and Great Harbor Key, Berry Island, twice daily, 7 days a week. Affordable charter services are also available to anywhere in the Bahamas and the Caribbean. Lee Air Charter Services. Call 225-3267, 702-7127, or 322-1317 for reservations.
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Even in the United States, 94% of people are deficient in at least one nutrient. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Longevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. It's an advanced plant-driven multivitamin mineral complex that contains certified organic whole foods, trace minerals, and antioxidants. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. With an unusually high ORAC score of 8,000, you get even more antioxidants to help combat free radicals that can cause damage to your cells. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Otherwise, they'll just pass through your system without doing any good. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs for optimal support of your overall health. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
And Phil Smith from the Bahamas Feeding Network. And I want to play a second clip, gentlemen, because we've been talking about the first option that many governments around the world, including the Bahamas, seems to have taken, and that is spend now, save later. And these clips, by the way, are from The Economist. They are arguing that maybe there's another approach that should be considered. There are three approaches, they say. The first is spend now and save later. And then they also say that there is a second approach that should be considered. So let's go to clip number 2, please, Marisha.
The pandemic has brought about enormous changes. Perhaps the biggest is that for many people, the office has gone from here to here. And on the whole, they seem to prefer it. 60% of Americans who can work from home want to continue doing it at least one day a week after COVID. And in the long term, it could boost economic growth and actually decrease inequality.
One of the chief constraints on growth was the fact that it was very expensive to live near cities where jobs were increasingly congregating, especially good jobs, places like London, Paris, San Francisco, New York, Tokyo. So there is clearly an opportunity, if people do shift towards working from home, to ease that constraint.
Working remotely has been made possible thanks to a fast and widespread adoption of technology, which existed before the pandemic, but wasn't being used to its full potential.
This digital push that's now taking place as a result of the pandemic will lead to an accelerated change in the economy. Ultimately, disruption is what drives long-term living standards. The important thing is that governments, I think, embrace this change rather than standing in the way and seeing it as a scary force that must be stopped.
Of course, not everyone will benefit from the remote work revolution. The urban service sector, in particular, is expected to shrink. But voters may be more likely to support disruption if the risks are shared more equally.
All right, so gentlemen, let's get you in on this. It's kind of funny because prior to the pandemic, if you ever suggested to your boss that you wanted to work from home, they would look at you like you were the, crazy. Like, how dare you? You just want to slack off. You only want to work. And now, everybody got to work from home practically. And so, do you see this change taking root in the Bahamas, where even after the pandemic, we very well may continue to do this? And will that make it easier in terms of helping to offset the, I don't know if it's possible, but to offset the fallout from the virus as it relates to unemployment? In other words, you're saving money on people not having to come into the office. That's less money you have to spend on electricity and all the other things that come along with persons having to come into the office. How do you see this impacting our economy, our community, our country, if we decided to go that route? Any one of you, look into the camera for me, please.
Okay. I think what you will find is that professionals, for example, I know a lot of professionals that are working from home, accountants, lawyers, and so on. So I see the working from home affecting those areas that, the persons that are the higher paid employees. Now, for the lower paid employees, I don't think it's really going to matter very much because, those are jobs where persons have to be in place, like, at the hotels and, the maids, those service people at hotels, they have to be there. And so I don't see it really affecting those areas, but professionals, I think it will affect.
See, Alan, what are your thoughts on this?
Just let me say, this is where where you say the poison becomes, the solution becomes worse than the disease, because here it is, we are 6 weeks away from a 1-year anniversary of our lockdown. The Bahamas is one of the most digitally prepared country in the world. Individuals such as myself has been talking for over a decade about this new reality that we were facing that would reach somewhere in the vicinity of 2023. So COVID allowed it to come early. Now and so this is where we don't have what is called real dialogue in our country concerning what's now, what's next, or what used to be. When you start talking about less for electricity, technically, when you talk about a work from home scheme, there is no real massive reduction in costs, because essentially what's supposed to happen is the shift of that economics supposed to increase in wages for the individuals that's working from home, because that individual is now bearing the cost of electricity, of AC, and upkeep. And so this is where a so-called balance of a conversation concerning balance of compensation supposed to happen. Many times, if the company itself is not even providing the technology that is necessary for that individual to work from home, then some should occur in regards to that. And so the fact is that here it is that a shift has occurred, and we are not going back. Anyone, please drop the fantasy that we're going to return to normal as we knew it December 2019. It's not going to happen. Because even as we speak, the hotels that we're looking to depend on themselves from a corporate structure is redefining how they will operate, streamline contingency, technology enhanced, etc. And so this is where even where the Ministry of Education has failed us, because and the Department of Labor, because this is the type of conversation we should have had over the whole entire year in preparing for this transition. And that's talking about changing, accessing skill sets within the entire population, looking at where the opportunities lies, both in the Bahamas and externally, and most of the opportunity lies is going to be externally. There's a host of disciplines that we have in some natural attributes, such as English being our native language, that gives us an advantage of a huge demographics around the world. But we have not done anything. We have sat around waiting for the magic pill called tourism to come back as we know it. When you even begin to look at the opportunities for the skill set, this is where we should have in the last year, should have been redesigning the economy and begin to build forward, focus forward. Because I guess tourism is not coming back, but hospitality is still the 10th largest industry in the world. And so anyone who also said that we should how they use the expression, expand the economy out of tourism, I think we should be expanding the economy into tourism. We have yet, it's like we have a one horse pony in a 100 horse race. We stick to regular hotel tourism. We haven't touched religious tourism, sports tourism, medical tourism. I mean, it's so many different environment, that educational tourism, so many different things that is there. We've just been sitting. You could estimate that about 60 to 80,000 of the individuals in our population will not be returning to the workforce as they knew it. Businesses have been eliminated.
Say that number again.
60 to 80,000 individuals out of a workforce of 230,000 individuals.
Wow.
Those workforce, and I don't care. See, because this is where we have somehow an avoidance of data. We only need to look, and I could put to you that maybe 60% of businesses in the Bahamas is already gone. We could look down on Bay Street. We could look around. I could tell you on Grand Bahama, there is no substance or no flow of capital for these businesses to be sustained. And so this is where we're in a crisis, and we're not having real conversation as to do with it. Again, hunger is a major vehicle in a major hump that we have to get over. But at the same time, we should be looking towards building individuals to make them self-sustaining. And here's the point I make. If we could identify those 100, or these 100, let's say 125,000 homes, including those what we call shanty towns or whatever it is, or even 150,000, if we could identify all of those particular homes, and here it is that we're trying to feed them, we could then also begin to identify the skill set in every single one of those homes to begin to look to see how we could place one individual within that home within the global marketplace. You know, we hear us talk about the green economy, the blue economy, the orange economy, the green economy, the knowledge economy, the digital economy, the conceptual economy. We have politicians that throw these around every single day. I'll doubt if many of them could explain to you what one or even many of those are. But they open opportunities for us to begin to identify individuals within the home with a particular skill set. We don't have to get the entire workforce in, but if we could get one person in that home who actually can provide the food aspect of it, while at the same time creating a social safety net that addresses the housing insecurity, have a real conversation concerning the educational insecurity, because it isn't just our young people that needs to enter the education arena. We have individuals that may even possess particular skill sets that simply hasn't been told how to formulate it for execution in this new digital reality that we are in.
Let me ask you gentlemen something. Do you believe that with this new reality, this new digital reality, do we need to now rethink our approach to education? And I'm not talking about the fact that our kids can't even get on the platform. I'm talking about making changes to the curriculum to embrace this new reality that we face. What are your thoughts on that?
Should have been done since yesterday. Because this, believe it or not, COVID did not bring this. This is something that was already in play. All COVID did was accelerate it. Believe it or not, from a global standpoint, the world is accelerating at 1 year per month. That means At minimum, we are 10 years into the future as far as technology adoption. The Bahamas is still trying to fight to get to where we used to be. But let's look at what's happening. In December of 2019, a local global technology company did an evaluation and determined that we were 10 years behind the curve. So here it is, COVID comes, moves 10 years forward. So that would put us with a 20-year gap. So we don't have any time to pretend concerning an education platform. And I've seen what education did. We actually went and tried to reinvent the wheel. And literally we made squares and triangles and everything else. When you could have called any one of the individuals and from Google or anyone else, they could have put a dozen IT individuals on this and had this done in 2 weeks, maybe 30 days, and we'll be out. But it brings us back to the very thing you said. What is the curriculum we're going to have them design? So it makes no sense to develop a vehicle, a pot, a plate, or whatever to carry if you have nothing to put into it.
Yeah.
And this is the mistake that we have, trying to digitize an analog process.
I think a part of our problem is that our leadership seems to think that it's weak to admit that they made a mistake or that they don't know what they're doing. And they seem opposed to garnering the widest amount of input possible. When I say that, I mean, you know, they say they put together these advisory councils, and it's the same faces and the same names over and over and over again. And you're wondering to yourself, do these people have a monopoly on thought? Why is it that they are not reaching out to a wider pool of Bahamians who will give them some good ideas? What is that about? And, you know, I am also, I don't know about y'all, but I am also very, very concerned that we have yet to see a comprehensive stimulus plan presented to us. All we keep hearing is it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Meanwhile, Phil, and I need you to look into your camera. Meanwhile, you on the ground, you can see that people can't wait for it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, because they're in dire straits now. You're talking about the feeding program ending in March, and in your own admission, you hadn't, in that 100,000 people that you're saying are in need, you hadn't even counted the persons who don't qualify for social assistance. So we talking major, and I'm not trying to be a prophet of doom.
40,000 people.
We talking major problems here. We talking disastrous consequences here if we don't do something quickly to fix this problem. And so I am wondering whether or not we're suffering from a complex of people who just too proud to admit that they are not handling this well and reach out to more people who can give them some more ideas, because we, quite frankly, can't afford, we don't have the luxury of people's pride getting in the way of progress. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts on that?
I would say that absolutely. Here's the problem we have. We have individuals whose ambitions has always been greater than their ability when it comes to technology. I've been home for almost 2 decades, and I've yet to see a single innovative business transformative type process. And it's not me saying this. Let's go to the IDB report that in mid-2020 that says that 98.5% of businesses in the Bahamas, including the government, has yet to adopt off-the-shelf technology. That's their survey. A Grand Bahama report did a survey of almost 4,000 individuals who just in the later part of last year, said that after polling 4,000 businesses, 92% did not think technology was relevant for rebuilding the economy. Just imagine that in a 21st century digital environment. So the problem then comes that there's somehow that it means that there's a smaller subset of individuals within this cave that understands that something exists outside of this cave. But the problem is, again, comes from what is called, we have a leadership deficit that doesn't understand that leadership is being able to define a vision and how people follow you there, not necessarily drive the car. And so unless, and I've had dozens of people who simply call me and want me to tell them what to say, and then they can't even repeat what I said. and you know, and but they go into the public domain and repeat it instead of bringing it. And I'm saying
Without
to you,
any
this not,
understanding, without any comprehension of what they
no
say,
no comprehension.
they just
And
read
then they
on paper.
then they task people. They task people. I've seen people that in early 2017, I was teaching how to turn on their phones, advising government on technology.
Oh my God.
You know, and I'm dead serious. I've seen technology advocates that considered professional in the field, and I'm being realistic, not being condescending to them. But you have individuals who basically got their entire expertise from Google or from somebody in the air, but it basically puts them in a position in the land of blind giants. The one-eyed midget can be king. And so we have a lot of kings running around or portraying themselves as kings and princesses of technology that gets their information from Google, and you just simply sit there with full in your hand and says, I can't believe that he's getting away with telling the government this. And so what you have is consultants come in. Now, let me tell you what a consultant does. When you pay the consultant $1 million, his job is to do what you say, not what he wants to do, what he wants to have done. And so the mere fact that you are asking him to install an adequate software, that's what he's going to install. Because he figured that if you don't even know that the software you are asking is adequate, then you would not comprehend the new version. And so what we have to do for this economy is very simple. And I said this, and I've said this to cabinet ministers and members of parliament and those aspirants. We have to stop trying to rebuild the Bahamas based on the old landmarks, digital landmarks of what we've been doing. We must reimagine the Bahamas in the 21st century, a few years ahead. Then we must build that blueprint. Then once we have that blueprint built, then go back and see which of the old can fit into it. But you don't build shanty towns. We've been building shanty towns, rebuilding this economy. And so essentially, we have to basically stop for a moment, have a total reassessment of our economy. What is the needs in the 21st century? Where do we want to go? What is the demographics of individuals with skill set and what they're capable of? And how long it would take to transition individuals in that particular environment. And in fact, I put to you, the workforce in the Bahamas is insufficient to handle the new Bahamas. We're talking about, and Phil, there's about, according to I guess these international things, there's about 40,000 individuals, undocumented individuals in the country. You know, I don't like to go into the conversation of legal or illegal, but they are undocumented because, again, we have literally thousands of Bahamians waiting to be recognized also among that grouping of individuals. And so, again, it's because we don't want to face this in a real case environment. So what we do is we got very good at hiding our faults. You know, like you say, the house is falling apart, but somebody's coming over, push everything in the closet, put everything in the room, make the living room look good, and then you sit around not telling them this bathroom's leaking, this is not working, this is not working. And so we're good at making excuses. And this is where the failure of leadership has occurred inside of the Bahamas. And I don't see, and I've looked across the aspirants, and I'm looking across those in parliament right now, and it scares me. It really scares me. As someone that lives in the future, looking back at the past, it scares me at where we are, because we are not recognizing our potential, because there is not just me. I'm saying to you, there's dozens of us in the Bahamas and outside of the Bahamas, believe it or not. They care about the Bahamas as much as I do, even though they don't live here, that is looking and waiting for the opportunity to actually be invited to the table. But we don't belong to tribes. We don't belong to the PLP, FNM, DNA, KGM, or whatever else it is. We don't do identity politics, and that's the problem we have.
So the details, Alan, I thought on that Economic Advisory Committee that was established once one have already reported. Can you speak to that?
See, Alan, can you hear him? He's
asking. He was very low.
Okay, he's asking, what are your thoughts on the Economic Advisory Committee? Looks like C. Alan is dropping out.
Okay. Yes, there's been no Economic Advisory Committee. There's been a gang of friends, family lovers, financiers, and supporters that has been got together and collect ideas from individuals who, many of the individuals I know who was arrogant in their ignorance in contributing to that report. If you put anything that they put in there, I'm afraid the fact that they haven't been ejected. They've come back with this so-called executive summary. It's not an executive summary. It's a smaller aspect called a synopsis. Because even from the executive summary, I could get from what is called an executive summary, I would have been able to get some idea of the direction we want to go. We've been waiting for months now for them to release the final report. So I put to you is that we've nothing more than a can. It's like you put a garbage can outside and says, throw whatever you want into the garbage can and we'll see how to recycle it. You know, the Prime Minister came out, remember now, his whole premise, go and check his statement. The only thing he left with was the knowledge economy. He said that this ERC was coming back with a blueprint for the blue, the green, the orange, the digital, and the conceptual economy. To that, I add the knowledge economy. We saw nothing of that in. The closest that came is what the Honorable Michael Pintard brought to the House of Assembly, which was the almost like the first leg of what is called the blue economy. Because if you understand what it is that he did, he created a fencing of some assets that allows individuals to basically have access to leverage to actually enter that blue economy. Now, let's go back and look at another thing that the government has did that they may not have a value. There's some negative to what is called a digital assets bill. But again, that there provides an environment for us to combine with the blue economy, what Michael Pintard did, to give individuals access to this blue economy that's in the tune of multi-billions, if not trillions of dollars. But there's also some steps that can go further for which to allow, it's almost like what we call condos, to allow individuals to get financing outside of the Bahamas by leveraging access to the resources that we have. What do I mean by that? You have an individual that want to enter the fishing industry. And simply put, if he needs financing, he can find a supplier outside of the Bahamas who wants fisheries, and he can go to them and say, hey, I'll provide you with $50,000, $75,000 a year in fisheries in exchange for a $500,000 advance. And that will be secured and negotiated. And so he's into the fishing business, just producing $150,000 or capturing $150,000 of this resource that's essentially free for him, because now he can buy the boats and the tools, and he can supply that that person who funded him in of advance, maybe for the $75,000 a year, with the fisheries that he made an agreement with, which allows him to employ dozens of individuals. But we are not having this type of conversation because the ERC simply say, give us the garbage can, we look at what we understand to recycle, and we'll put it on the table. There's absolutely no blueprint for execution of anything that the ERC has brought forth. There's no assessment of the again, the skill sets.
I am very concerned that we are 6 weeks out from a year of dealing with this and have yet to receive a comprehensive stimulus plan. That, to me, is absolutely ludicrous. And the fact that Bahamian people are sitting back and just snoring, sleeping, not demanding more, is very frightening to me, because that to me, that is the height of irresponsibility.
No, but Michelle, here's the problem. We have created, through nurturing, a culture of dependency. The government has become our parent, and we have never grown up. And so essentially, we and this is where our leadership loves and have seemed to thrive, and now it's coming back to bite us.
Well, if
they created that culture.
If that's the case, we need to put our big girl panties on and our big boy jockey pants on, jockey shorts on, and demand better, because the country is going down in flames, people. We have to do something. We cannot sit back and allow this to continue, because, as I've said before, if it goes down, we all go down with it. But some of us have options. Some of us have enough money in the bank that we can jump on a plane and go to Switzerland or wherever we choose to go, and we still living comfortable, while the rest of y'all go into hell in a handbasket.
But that's where an important part that you said, the skill set. The skill set, for those we have not transferred any skill set, anyone that has a rudimentary understanding of the skill set that's necessary, they can make applications, because their skill set going to be needed in countries that's doing worse than us. Because if you use an example, I think if I was to go to Jamaica, Cuba, Dominican Republic, or anywhere else in the Caribbean, because I would come into that environment and bring a particular skill set, which then bring currency within that country, they would welcome me. So this becomes another essential threat to us as a country, because if we don't have the environment for those that possess the skill set to work, we could actually begin to see them bleed out of us. And so this is why I'm saying to you, this is huge. This whole lockdown without preparation, without planning, creates an existential crisis, which again, we go back to the feeding aspect and see that we have yet to even digitize something as simple as a distribution. You give people need.
Been the churn on the educational platform long enough to come on, man. Let's be real. Let's have a real conversation. Okay, I want to take a break, but first I want to look at a couple of the Facebook messages, Facebook comments that are being put up from our audience on Facebook. And listen, people, if you haven't already done so, like and share the show. Like and share the show. Let people know that GPS is on the air, and we're talking some very important stuff here today about whether or not this medicine we're being forced to take is worse than the actual thing it's trying to cure. So, producer, let's pull up a couple of the comments on Facebook. Florina Pratt says they are feeding us the same foods that they claim are killing us. Why not give us the funds and allow us to purchase healthier foods? Before we go to the next comment, Phil, what are your thoughts on that?
We are thinking of that right now. We will set up stores.
Look into the camera. But you set up stores. Yeah, you talking to the audience. Look into the camera, because otherwise they see the side of your face. Okay. And I know you're cute, but we don't want to see the side of your face for the whole show.
Yeah, we are where we are going to set up stores. We have one, so everyone would receive a voucher rather than the actual parcel, and they would then go in and shop for what they want.
Okay.
So that is something we're looking at.
All right. Let's go back to the Facebook comments now to see what else our Facebook audience has had to say. National insurance, Laura says, national insurance does rob people. I got injured on someone's job. They need to deal with that. Then in July, when time for my pension, I could not get what I work for. Okay. Oswald Ellis says, freedom of information is the issue. Things told to friends is not told to the other clients that need assistance. And Maxine Johnson Stubbs, hey schoolmate, says, so true, Michelle Malcolm. We have so many experts in many fields all over the world, but are not recognized here at home. Not the same set of people. Only that one got sense to think. Oswald Ellis again says, they don't want more ideas, Michelle. They think if too many people know, they will have to share the cookies from the cookie jar. My Lord. Anton Wallace, and then we need to scroll the telephone contacts as well. Anton C. Wallace says, I concur. There is no vision, no plan, and therefore no implementation. We must have a blueprint for the future. We have an economic advisory committee who presented a summary with limited details that our PM has yet to share with the Bahamian public. Simply put, we are a rudderless nation, just letting the tide carry us into the abyss. A vision, a blueprint, and implementation. We also would like to thank Mr. Smith for he and his feeding networks yeoman's job being done with limited resources. Thank you so much, Anton C. Wallace. Okay, we're going to take a break, but we want you to know the telephone line is 828-3542. 828-3543 is the call-in line. 828-3543 is the number to call. And if you want to send us a text, that number would be 828-2543, 828-2543. And of course, you can just simply put your comments on Facebook. And if you are lucky, we'll pull them up and read them for you. Stay with us. This is GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Glory 93.9 FM. I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm. We'll be back after this.
I call it perfection. When elegance and taste make a connection. Every single dish is a taste of heaven. For your banquet or your wedding, who you getting? HD Catering. HD Catering.
Book Heaven's Delicacy Catering today with Chef Lachey Jones and experience a taste of heaven on earth called.
Looking for an extraordinary junior high school with caring, qualified staff and affordable tuition? Then come visit us at Elite School of Excellence, an affiliate of First Step Academy. ABECA-focused and Ministry of Education approved, we foster discipline, integrity, and wisdom while molding our students for success. Call us at 341-8846 or stop by First Step Academy Schools on Fire Trail and Soldy Roads for more information. Want to look your best and feel even better? Visit J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa for the ultimate beauty, body, and anti-aging treatments, offering custom colors, haircuts, vegan anti-freeze treatments, silk blowouts, natural and acrylic nails, unisex pedicures, facials, and massages, all waxing services, and microcurrent therapies for anti-aging and body sculpting. J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa, Palmdale Shopping Plaza, Madeira Street, telephone 326-7863. This Friday, TGIF GPS Global Paradigm Shift will be coming to you live from the Tiki Bikini Hut on Junkanoo Beach. Come hang with me, Byron, and the Tiki Hut crew at my favorite family-friendly beachfront restaurant and watering hole. What's on your mind? Get it off your chest as you enjoy delicious Bahamian and international cuisine. Wash it down with a refreshing tropical smoothie. Then satisfy your sweet tooth with a delectable dessert as we discuss the week that was on an open line show. Start with brunch, stay for lunch, and all the while stay connected with free Wi-Fi. Or you can enjoy several water sports options with the whole family. They also cater to group events. Don't meet me there, beat me there. This Friday, GPS Global Paradigm Shift live from Tiki Bikini Hut on Junkanoo Beach. See you there. Is worse than the thing they're trying to cure. So that's what we're talking about today. And we are going to be taking some of your comments on Facebook. We're also inviting you to call us and also to text us so we can hear from you. So I know the clips that I've been playing, as I said earlier, are from The Economist. And there is one more that I would like to play, and we're going to get to that in a short bit. But gentlemen, so, boy, is what more can we be doing to try to offset what is going to continue to be, unless we do so, unless we change something, we're going to have some major issues, y'all. So, C. Allen, let's go to you. What do you think we need to encourage our leaders to do differently from what has been being done in order to fix this problem?
Let's start with the feeding network with Phil that's there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's abandon what the government is doing. I know Phil will continue doing what he's doing because that's what he do. But let's introduce technology. And one of the things that we talk about, that Phil just spoke about, is feeding, about people taking their money to the store. That's one of the things, is that we have to, this is a crisis. We have to remove the commercialization of the feeding program out of it. If you was to basically introduce technology and have a complete home-by-home assessment community to community, constituency by constituency, polling station by polling station, assessments of every single home concerning the needs for them to see if they are in need. We can look at the databases. We have big data. We have NIB for those who have returned to work. We can look to qualify and disqualify any individuals. There's enough data there for us to address. But here's the point I make. You can buy rice for sub 10 cents a pound. You can buy grits. You can buy beans. You can buy peanut butter. You can buy cheese. You can buy milk, whether powdered or otherwise. There's so many things that we can actually begin to accumulate, because what we're trying to do is decrease costs and expand reach. And the point I make is that, yes, we will need some distribution centers, whether we work with the current institutions that is there. And I want people to understand, even though we have a huge impact on our 50% of our workforce, the stores will not die, like the food stores, etc., because that other class of individuals will sustain themselves. Because essentially what has happened is that what you have is that the GDP didn't 100% disappear. And so those high working individuals, just that the GDP, the larger proportion of the GDP is expanded across a small minority. Because if you look at the fact that according to the GDP, every working person in the Bahamas makes $66,000 per year. That's not my figures, that's the GDP figures. Every single person employed in the Bahamas, according to the GDP, makes $66,667 a year, rounded up to $67,000 per year. So when you extrapolate from that you have certain individuals, the smaller grouping of individuals that is making it, that money is still within the economy. But we're talking about this 50% that is impacted, at least 50% that is impacted. And so what we do is identify each particular home, use technology to do what is called equitable distribution, and not equal. I said equitable distribution based on need, and then begin to look at how do we reduce costs by bringing in bulk, whether it be those things that I mentioned, so that we can get to them. But at the same time, using technology, because there's a lot of individuals that without power, without gas in their homes, whatever. So even though we provide these things, they still will not be able to cook in the capacity that we would expect them to. And this is where the individuals that has the ability to cook and prepare food and whatever else. But it cannot be a haphazard random thing that we're doing where somebody over is doing it, somebody over here doing it. We're going to do 1,000, I'm going to do 1,200, do whatever, and everybody just running around. We could digitize this entire process where individuals have identification, whether it be on their phone using QR codes or whatever, barcodes, whatever it is, that where an individual could, with one barcode, could represent an entire house or whatever it is. And we can do this in a matter of 2 weeks using technology.
Okay. Let's get Phil in on this to respond to what you're suggesting now. Phil, based on the people that you see on a regular basis who come in terms of need, do you think that C. Allen's suggestion is realistic based on the persons and that are coming to you for need and the means that they have?
Alan, I just would like for you to explain to me this digitization or this digital reality in these homes. So we're looking at, say, 100,000 homes. We're looking at a population of 400,000, so 100,000 homes. Now, it is my belief that a lot of those people are intimidated by technology and will probably not be able to do what we'd like to see happen. What is your solution to that? These folks being intimidated by technology.
When people ask me, how do you eat an elephant compared to eating a grape? My answer is very simple, one bite at a time. The Bahamas is already broken up into polling stations. If you look at the smallest common denominator that we use for politics, within those polling stations, a very small subset of homes. And so we can assign captains. So when you begin to look at 39 constituencies, break it down into no more than 35, or let's say 40 polling stations in each one. So essentially, if you have 40 individuals in each constituency, each one of them can be a captain or whatever in that particular that area. We have technology, have the ability to drop pins. So even for homes that may not be necessarily on the grid, that captain, that group, or whatever small group that goes into that community would go to that home and drop a pin so we can look from Google Earth and the GIS system that we've spent millions of dollars for. And New Providence is supposed to have identified every single home going back to when Bradley Roberts was minister almost a decade ago, and subsequent minister. So we have a number for each house. But for those that is missed, just drop a pin. So we could basically look at what is necessary for identifying every single location wherever there's a need. And for those that don't have the technological acumen, we have community leaders that can go and do this, whether it be from within the church or whatever. But again, we just need to accept that we need to embrace technology to reach 400,000 individuals, and let's utilize that information. The information also lies for those individuals with whom we can begin to eliminate those, because we can just look at our BPL and they'll give us an address of every single person that has a meter. And so this is what data is about, looking at the data and then extrapolating from that data, going and seeing who is missing and finding those that it's missing. When individuals come, this is not as, I guess, because I think digitally, this is not as complicated as most people would actually think. And almost everybody, we have, I think, saturation in the Bahamas, over 300,000 devices compared for most other countries. We have over 100% saturation with technology. We just need to give them, here's how to pin, here's a QR code, here's an app that you use, here's what happens when they, it's simple. If you can't drop a pin to where you are, when you come to us, we'll facilitate you for this emergency one-time use, and then we'll have somebody facilitate finding you where you are to do this. We have WhatsApp and all these other different things.
I want to show a comment. This is from Adrian Mott. Adrian says, see, Alan, preacher to the choir, he might as well say that in Chinese. No one in the Bahamas understands. When I was in the Bahamas, Life at Key would buy all my fish. The regular Bahamians did not have the money. How important is that comment to what we're talking about? Because it's wonderful for us to sit back and, say all these wonderful things that need to be happening. But if the people don't have the resources, then what?
We have the resources. Let's use an example. The Prime Minister made a very important point, and again, Minister Pintard mentioned it in his speech. And the reason I'm mentioning him is because I think that's one of the most impactful legislation that came out of this COVID so far, because it has so much opportunity. That and the Digital Assets Bill provides us with so much opportunity, and I guess that's Minister Kwesi Thompson. But we have the assets. We are sitting in $1 trillion environment with over 100 natural resources. The most important one lies in the office of the Prime Minister. And so when we begin to talk about lack, the Prime Minister just randomly one day said, oh, don't worry, we'll use some land and raise $2 billion. So the question then becomes, even when we go to borrow, people ask us the question, what are you borrowing for? If you're borrowing to spend or to pay old bills, it serves no purpose. Like when you say the government bought $2.1 billion, they spend $900 million of that paying old loans. So you borrow one loan to pay off another loan.
But I'm
just showing you where the power is within this. Yes, the Prime Minister said we could raise $2 billion. The Prime Minister sits today, forget the Aragonite and all the other resources. Today, the Prime Minister sits on over 2 million acres of Crown land.
Amen.
15,000 acres today put into a sovereign wealth fund. Or let's say use beachfront prime properties would raise $15 billion in the shortest period of time, because the world is hungry for the real estate we have, because there's no more waterfront property in the United States. But they're not buying the property. They're investing into this fund that will seek to develop the property. The $15 billion that we would raise from institutional investors that's looking for places to put money. And so we would then use a portion of it to redesign the Bahamas while creating an environment to create the monies to pay it back. Let's use an example. 20,000 rooms is needed on Grand Bahama. That could generate over $1 billion a year in revenue to the government if properly executed as part of a sovereign wealth fund type environment. Right. There's no lack of assets in the Bahamas. What we have is a lack of imagination.
I love that the land in the hands of the Prime Minister.
Right. So
see the other thing, and sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but even for agriculture, Alan, I thought of system, like a national system where you give land to young men and young women to farm. And don't forget the point you were making. I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No problem.
And I thought, and that asset is in the hands of the prime minister, that he could distribute this land to many of these young people and say to them, make it like a national service, for example, so that if you work the land in the way that you should. So I would say give a year in order to see how these people work the land. And if they work it in the way that you feel is satisfactory, then you convey that land to them. But I think it would be a great way to stimulate and encourage young people to work in agriculture for themselves.
Well, I would agree. I would agree 100% with him concerning the assignment of land. My only difference with him would be, I don't believe that we should give title to any land. Let me explain to you something. If I give you 99 years exclusive use of that land, you just like have title with the ability to even leverage it for loans. But again, if you have a proper sovereign wealth fund, the sovereign wealth fund will fund you. And if you fail at what you're doing, whatever is lost comes back to the sovereign wealth fund. The use of technology, when we look at the use of technology in farming, we need agrotech. Using agrotech, the production is up to 22 times that of the pothole farming that we do in the Bahamas. We need to embrace technology. So when we start talking about the part of this feeding network, within a matter of weeks, we could have young people with container farms and whatever type of farm using technology, producing carrots and potatoes and lettuce and onions and whatever. These are things we produce already. We just have to learn how to bring them into the network through this whole process of digitization. And so we talk about what we want to do, but we're trying to find out, how do we digitize old ways? How do we digitize old behavior? You cannot see, even the problem is that everything digital can maybe be converted to everything analog can be converted to digital, but nothing digital can be converted to analog. So here it is, they take a digital idea and trying to make it into analog concept. It can't happen. Okay. So let's just embrace technology for agrotech. Let's embrace technology for the feeding network, the housing network, all of these different things. Okay. So, but Michelle said, but housing, I just told you about $15 billion. The possibilities is greater because we have carbon credits in the billions of dollars also. But I'm simply saying this, we could pause the housing crisis. We could pause everything that is happening if we get honest. Of course, some people have to die. We like to talk about them with the oligarchs and these class. When I'm saying die, I just simply saying is their process would have been the parasitic nature of our relationship has to end.
Okay, see, Alan, boy, you could go.
But man, see, Alan, you're talking plenty sense. I love you.
Always.
Yeah,
see,
I
always tell Alan, no, you got to learn how to pray. See.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I want to go to a couple of Facebook comments. This one is from Dale Charlo. And it says, the great Bahamian educator Eris Monker told me about 25 years ago that Bahamians will not stand up and fight until our backs are against the wall. There are thousands of we Bahamians who know within our spirit that the time is now to step up, stand up, and speak up. There is no more rope. It is now that we have most everything that we need in this 21st century technology work to succeed. The major thing missing is courage and unity. Let's see. We have Marva Gilbert says, what do they do with the produce when they continue to import foods? Okay. Anton C. Wallace says, data is the key. We have two major tech companies that can reach just about every Bahamian household, either through cable or a wireless device. There's no reason why every household or constituency should not be digitized. As MP Vaughn Miller says, make the wealth common, simply empower the people. Okay, I want to play my final clip because you know what? Let's take a break. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll play the clip on the other side and get our panelists' thoughts as we wrap this up. So stay with us. This is GPS, Global Paradigm Shift on Glory 93.9 FM.
Ocean blue is the best in seafood, fresh out the water and affordable too, yeah. We got fish, conch, lobster, shrimp, everything you want, Ocean Blue got it. Ocean Blue, friendly and clean, best service you ever.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 Hyperimmune Egg Powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Escape from the city life to Bacon Air Beach Resort in Pirateswell, Mayaguana. Relax in one of 16 air-conditioned rooms just steps away from the ocean. Enjoy scrumptious dishes in our waterfront dining room. Sip on a tropical cocktail, or if you must, stay connected with wireless internet. Nestled on one of the most beautiful beaches in the Bahamas, Bacon Air Beach Resort offers a unique vacation experience. For reservations, call 339-3726 or 463-0182.
Your body's immune system is under constant pressure from things like stress, lack of exercise, and toxins in the environment. It's crucial to be proactive and support your immune system with the nutrients it needs to function effectively. But it's often hard to get these nutrients from food alone. Introducing fast-acting Zinc Plus Immune Support by Longevity. Unlike zinc-only supplements, Zinc Plus Immune Support builds on the proven power of zinc and adds complementary nutrients to give your immune system extra support. Vitamin D helps balance the effects of zinc, while our proprietary blend of natural fruit and root extracts provides the extra help your immune system needs to work against daily stressors. And we've included Longevity's exclusive plant-derived minerals to give your body the minerals it needs, but can't get from food alone. And because Zinc Plus Immune Support is delivered in a great-tasting, sugar-free, berry-flavored lozenge, it encourages quicker absorption of all these nutrients into your body. Zinc Plus Immune Support. Zinc plus the extra support your body needs to promote a healthy immune system. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Medicine that we've been given for COVID-19, worse than the disease itself. Now, I want to play a clip real quick, gentlemen, because this is the third option, according to The Economist, that we should consider as it relates to the fallout from COVID-19.
When the world went into lockdown, millions of businesses found themselves unable to operate and with no way to pay their employees. So governments were forced to respond in an innovative way.
I think that's because there was this widespread sense that you couldn't do anything about the fact that you were unemployed as a result of the restaurant at which you worked being shut. Lockdowns were a bolt from the blue, and so the government stood behind everybody and replaced household incomes to an extraordinary degree.
In America, Congress announced a stimulus package worth $2 trillion, which included direct cash payments to almost every American. The British government rolled out a £30 billion job support scheme, and in Europe's 5 largest economies, more than 40 million workers were placed on government-funded short work schemes.
The downside to furlough schemes is that they do have this potential to keep people locked in zombie jobs which aren't coming back when the economy recovers. But the principle that household incomes in some sense can be underwritten during a large economic shock over which those households have no control is, I think, an interesting one that could be applied in future. What we've seen this year is that governments can move pretty fast to put money in the pockets of households directly, and the households will spend that money. Direct cash transfers to households do work fairly well and are not subject to quite the same level of haggling and perhaps the same degree of waste that you might get with other forms of fiscal stimulus.
While governments have sought to intervene domestically, internationally there's also been an increase in protectionism when countries shield their industries against foreign competition. The crisis has caused panic about the fragility of global supply chains.
Stalled production lines across China.
The global supply chain right now is disrupted.
A lot of firms this year paid a lot more attention to their supply chains, and it's more fashionable now to think about the robustness and resilience of those supply chains, which often means bringing them closer to home or at least diversifying your suppliers.
There was concern in particular around personal protective equipment. Many countries blocked export of PPE and similar items. According to the IMF, there have been almost 120 new export restrictions this year.
This is coinciding with a movement towards protectionism on a global scale, with a trade war between America and China. And it's clearly a risk that coming out of the pandemic, you have leaders who are very concerned about promoting national champions, less concerned about competition rules, and really want supply chains brought home.
Despite this shift towards protectionism, there is reason to be optimistic. Government economic response to the virus has been swift and on a massive scale.
I don't think many people would have predicted that government would act that fast and that capably. They've acted much better, I would say, on the economic side than they have in terms of controlling the disease in many countries.
As with the economic shocks of the 20th century, COVID-19 presents an opportunity for a reforging of the relationship between government and the individual, in ways that many hoped would follow the previous shocks of the 21st century. The question is whether today's politics is up to the job.
And that is definitely the question we need to be asking here in the Bahamas, whether or not Bahamian politics is up to the job. What COVID did for us is clearly showed that we had no safety net, none. And we have to ask ourselves that question. Is our politics up to the job of doing what needs to be done to pulling us out of this thing? What are your thoughts, gentlemen?
I would say no, because of the identity politics, the personality politics that we play. Because what we do is, because we elect people on personality and cult and tribal politics, we don't get the best amongst us. What we get is individuals who would submit to the leadership. In fact, the way these political organizations are set up, they are set up so that no challenge comes to the leader. So when you don't get the best leader in that particular organization, you have to understand that a first-rate leader chooses first-rate followers or other leaders to work with him. A second-rate leader chooses third-rate followers. And so when you have a second-rate leader leading these political organizations, then you end up with third-rate support teams. And so when you then have is that you have them dominate the scene, you have the dark money. And we don't like to talk about dark money, but dark money is what dictates to a desperate populace on the direction they do. So what they do is they make temporary decisions that has permanent ramifications. And we have seen that for almost 4 decades of governance. But I think when your video spoke to something called basic income. I am a supporter of basic income. And so if you look at the fact that if you used to look at the 125,000 homes in the Bahamas, we're talking $1.5 billion a year. Again, we have the resources to support such a position. And I would challenge anyone who says otherwise. And so it's very easy for us to understand. Sorry.
You're just turning yourself sideways.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. It's easy for us to understand what. I think he was having some technical challenges. Okay. In the meantime, Phil, let's hear from you. What are your thoughts on this?
Give me a second. I have an issue.
Can I go?
Yes,
Should I
yes,
go?
you can. Go ahead.
Yeah, C. Allen, I am so impressed. I haven't met him before. I don't think I've met C. Allen before, but some of his ideas are absolutely amazing. What I don't understand, C. Allen, is how is it that your ideas could not make it to this economic advisory committee? I mean, we are all Bahamians trying to, do our best for the country and help one another as best we can. C. Allen, with these wonderful ideas that you have, I'm just trying to understand why is it that some of these ideas that you had did not make it to the Economic Advisory Committee? Couldn't you, even if you were not on that committee, would it not have been possible for you to call and give some of these ideas? And I don't know if politics prevents that. From my standpoint, and I'm apolitical, but from my standpoint, it seemed as if that committee was pretty diversified. I don't think it was political, because, some of the people that I know, on that committee, they were, from all walks of life, all, F&Ms and PLPs and so on. And so I thought
my challenge is just it's the same faces over and over and over again.
You think so, though, Michelle?
Yeah,
Look at that committee, though.
I've seen it.
You thought they were the same? I thought they were new. A lot of those people were new.
C. Allen is trying to get back in, so let's bring him into this. What are your thoughts, C. Allen?
Phil, you know me from Clem. I am one of the twins from the Grove with the Rose family. And I used to hang out with Clem.
Clem Shea?
A while back. Huh?
Clem,
the contractor, yes.
Clem, really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Okay.
So, I'll reintroduce myself to you. Also for the young lady, Christine, I'm Bristol that you in Grand Bahama. That's my first cousin.
Yeah, man.
So
and I
we
want.
know each other. We know each other well. We know each other well. Let's go.
After the show,
let's go.
We got to link.
Okay, let's go back to the community. Let's go back to the committee.
Do you think before
hold
on, Sion,
do you think
that was right in terms of there being sufficient diversity on the Economic Recovery Committee?
No, that's what I'm going to. I
Okay.
know, and I watched the political makeup of every committee in the last 2 decades. That committee was pro-government, no matter what you say. So what you have is, yes, you have a diverse in the group of individuals, but you have a prime minister that only chooses from within his inner circles, which in his inner circles becoming smaller, smaller, and smaller.
Oh.
And so we have people who claim all the time is non-political, but listen to me. I can look at someone who even claim that they're non-political. I'm not saying you. I'm talking about people on this committee. And you know what I do? I observe when they work. I observe when they are seen. Yes, they've been seen for 20 years, but you've seen more of you when there's a particular party is in play or a particular leader is in play. And so you may have been attempted to claim non-political. But the question then becomes is that if these individuals did not see what was coming for 20 years, in a non-crisis situation, how could they resolve the issues being unaware of it in a crisis situation?
All right, I want to bring in here a Facebook comment from Gina Mortimer Store. She says, for the same reason, many talented Bahamians don't serve or stay away once they gain exposure and more skills, etc. Leaders don't like change and feel threatened by things they are unfamiliar with. I'm speaking as a former almost 20-year civil servant and private sector employee with access. How do you respond to that?
I would say no, amen, because I could tell you for 20 years I've been persona non gratis. Everything I'm saying today has been modified to adjust. No, that's what I'm saying to you. So when the F&M is in, they say no use. So everything I'm saying, I keep digital records. All I've done is modify it for the progress we have made, and we are an anti-intellectual society. Not just me, but for Bahamians in general. If you are supposed to be smart, you are chastised and separated from, because you're not who you think you are, whatever. And that's the problem we have. Until we get rid of the anti-intellectualism and governance, and as well as within society, we're going to serve a huge blow, a huge catastrophic type environment.
Gina Motomostora again says, worked on several government boards and committees. To think they are non-political is disingenuous at best. Phil, let's hear you. Final thoughts on this subject. What do you think?
I think it would be nice if the prime ministers or, probably could have one term, and just do what it is that they think is best for the country, because I think what happens is when the politics gets into it, it changes things, And so like we were saying earlier today, C. Allen and I, about what is in the prime minister's hands right now, all of this crown land that he can use very effectively to do a lot of things, and that's something that's there. I believe that agriculture and maybe even fisheries, when you look at what has been happening in Spanish Wales for many years, they've done a tremendous job in fishing. That could probably, that knowledge could probably be transported to the whole Bahamas. But agriculture, I think, if we could at least feed ourselves, I think we would go a long way. And so my advice to the Prime Minister or to the Minister of Agriculture would be to really, really focus on developing agriculture.
All right, gentlemen.
5 seconds. Let me say this. Michelle, the power of the people is in the hands of the people, not
We are out of time.
One more.
Thank you. No, it's 1:01. We pass our time. So I want to thank you both for being here today. Thanks to everyone who listened by radio. Check us out on Facebook from all over the world. Thank you so much. Thanks to our sponsors for making today's shows possible. And also thank you to Glory 93.9 FM for broadcasting this show today. I'm Michelle Malcolm. It's always a pleasure to be in your company. Have a good afternoon, everyone. And I'll see you tomorrow with another Wellness Wednesday show. Listen, y'all, don't miss tomorrow's show. We're going to have a powerful guest on. He's going to blow your mind. So make sure you tune in. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.